Hi everybody, it's Denuvo with your news Cartridge for Thursday, December 8th, 2016. Today begins with The Last of Us Part 2, which turns out was teased months ago. No one noticed the new fern tattoo on Ellie's arm in this poster, released back in September. And it's official, the Starbucks Pokemon Go event has begun and lines up with the leak we saw earlier this week. Enjoy your Pokemon Frappuccino, trainers! Following up on another story from last week, DoomRL is now known as DRL, and the creator has gone open source with his game in order to avoid a lot of legal issues. The successor, Jupiter Hell, almost has reached its Kickstarter goal. Dean Hall, the creator of DayZ, has said that there is currently no money in VR development. And while that may be true, a lot of new technologies need to become a lot more common to become profitable, and VR debuted just this year, so let's give it some time, okay? And there's yet another crazy build in Minecraft which brings a fully working Atari 2600 emulator into the game. It uses no mods or plugins, and can only output 60 frames every 4 hours. Moving on to release announcements, starting with an exclusive for the Nintendo Switch called Seasons of Heaven. There is no release date just yet, but we do know it runs on the Unreal Engine 4. Stardew Valley will be on PS4 and Xbox One next Wednesday, December 14th, and has a launch trailer to go along with it. Elite Dangerous is coming to PS4 sometime in the second quarter of 2017. Resogun, one of the first games offered for PS4 for PS Plus subscribers, has been confirmed to get PS4 Pro support. The Silver Case is getting remade for PS4 and will release on April 21st of next year. Dragon Quest Heroes 2 will be coming to 3DS a few days later on April 25th, 2017. Rockstar's Bully has been released for both Android and iOS in commemoration of the game's 10th anniversary. And finally for teasers, a game with DLC named better than yesterday's Snowmageddon DLC. Players of Shadow Warrior 2 can now pick up the Way of the Wang DLC free right now. It's December, but that doesn't mean that a developer wasn't going to try one of the shittiest business practices of the year. Find out what terrible idea they tried to impose next on News Cartridge. So here's some bullshit that got changed real quick. So there's this game called Arizona Sunshine. It's a VR shooter game that released earlier this week, and it came with an unusual stipulation. Unless you had an Intel i7 processor, you could not access the single-player horde mode included with the game. A user had noticed this because one of their machines with an i5 processor was not able to access the mode, all the while fully capable of running VR. The developer had responded in the worst way possible, saying that it was their work with Intel which made the game possible, and therefore wanted to give i7 owners the first experience of the game. After March 6th, the mode would be unlocked to everyone, and this is just a shitty move. Not only because AMD users would be completely screwed, but a new i5 costs well over $200 US, and to deny gamers because they didn't spend that extra $100+ because they didn't have to is just fucking asinine. Thankfully, the developer has heard the outcry and has released the mode to all owners of the game. Holy fuck, Vertigo Games, don't you or anyone else dare try that shit again. And where the fuck is Valve in this? How dare they allow this type of timed exclusive on their storefront? Think about your customers, for fuck's sake. This next one's really interesting because it's suspected the DRM tool known as Denuvo has been removed from this year's release of Doom. Why it's interesting is not only because Denuvo was once called the uncrackable DRM, which was broken earlier this year, but because its removal could be saying something very important about DRM software in general. Now, if it were up to me, DRM would be completely gone. I see it as a completely unnecessary entity, which is only doing more harm than good as it punishes true owners and does little to combat piracy. Not to mention it can have a performance impact. Now, it's not exactly known why it was removed, but it was done so willingly by Bethesda, probably after their critical sales period had ended. And let's face it, it's a $60 game that was just on sale for $20 a few weeks ago. So now, the only thing left to do is to see if there was a performance impact and just how much. In the quick spot today, the Nintendo Switch was seen being played live for the first time last night on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. Fallon had guest Reggie Fils-Aimé, the CEO of Nintendo of America, showing him the new Super Mario Run, when Mr. Aimé surprised him with not only a guest appearance of Shigeru Miyamoto, but Fallon became the first person to play the Switch on live TV. If you want to see the whole video, which is really good actually, except for Fallon saying he was freaking out about 4 or 5 times, please see the description down below. Finally today, one that's gonna piss off a lot of video game companies, but I'm okay with. China is now calling for video games to display the chances of outcomes for in-game loot boxes if the game contains them. This would include games like Overwatch, CSGO, Payday 2, and Rocket League. And this really wouldn't be a problem because it's specific only to China, but because we kind of live in a world where the internet spreads everything, those percentages are going to get out to the rest of the world. And there are a couple of different ways to handle this. Chinese versions of the game could have a different loot table to keep the rest of the world guessing. Those companies could stop selling their game in China altogether, which really wouldn't make sense because that'd kind of be like chopping off your nose to spite your face. They could do away with the random boxes altogether, opting for a more traditional unlock system, but that would kill revenue after the initial sale of the game. So it's really hard to say exactly what effect this will have on the rest of the world, and only time will tell. Let's do this! It's time for tomorrow's game releases for PC: Off-Road Paradise Trial 4x4, Pawn, Red Spider 2 Exiled, Exoplanet First Contact, Jade's Journey, Polynorus, VR Swing Table Tennis Oculus, Himawari The Sunflower, and VR The Anime Girls Method. For Xbox One, Skyforce Anniversary, and Tennis in the Face. Thank you very much, everybody. This has been News Cartridge. I am Dandruff. I will see you tomorrow. And I get hit by the same bicycle every day. It's a vicious cycle.